We're continuing tonight Perek Yudaled, Posuk Vov, Vayikshu Vnei Yehuda al Yehoshua, Bagilgol, Vayomer Lov Kalev ben Yefune, Haknizi. Ato yodato es hadovar asher diber Hashem el Moshe, ish Elokim, al oidoisai ve'al oidoisecho bekodesh Barnea. You remember what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said about me and about you, Kodesh Barnea, once the Meraglim came back. Ben Arboim Shona Onoichi, I was 40 years old, Bishloach Moshe Eved Hashem, Oisi Mekadesh Barnea L'Ragel L'Sooretz, V'Oshei V'Yisoidovo Kasherim Levovi, and I said whatever I said at the time of returning from the journey of the Meraglim. ואחי אשר עולו עמו המיסו הסלב העום ואנוכי מילאתי אחר השם אלוקי. The Meraglim did the Chet HaMeraglim, and I did Hashem Elokai. I have followed the instructions of HaKadosh Baruch. וישב מוישה ביום ההוא לאמור אם לא הארץ אשר דורכו רגלו בו לכו תהיה לנחלו לבונכו עד עולם כי מילאתו אחרי השם אלוקי. ועתו, הנה איך יו השם אויסי כאשר דיבר זה 45 שנה מאז דיבר השם את הדבר הזה אל מוישה, אשר הולך ישראל במדבר, ועתו הנה אנוכי היום בן 85 שנה. It was 45 years ago. Shana Shniya Sholach Meraglim, and this was 45 years ago. We're holding now the end of Shnoisa Kibush Tchilas Shnoisa Chaluko. Oideni, Rashi brings down, we saw the Gemara in Zvochim Daf Kuf Yudches, Lomanu Sheshou Bekibush Horetz Sheva Shonim, Shereb Hashon Hashem Yisholach Moshe Meraglim, Nishnu, Nisharu Shloishim Veshmoine, and change, Shehochu Bamidbo, Vesheva Shekipshu, Harei 45. It's 45 years since Oideni ayoim chozok kasher beyoim shlach oisi Moshe kikoichi az ukikoichi ato lamilchoma velotzes velofen. Don't think just because I'm 85 years old, my strength is not with me. My strength as it was at the age of 40, it is now at the age of 85. Ve'ato tnoli yesohor hazeh asher diber Hashem bayoim hahu. Give me this mountain. Ki ato shomata bayoim hahu ki anokim shom ואורים גדולויס בצורויס, אולי השם אויסי ואוירשתים כאשר דיבר השם. Give me this, we'll soon see what נחלו he want. ויברכהו יהושע, וייתן אס חברון לקולב בן יפונה לנחלו. על כן אויסו חברון לקולב בן יפונה הכניסה לנחלת היום הזה יען, אשר מילא אחר השם אלוקי ישראל. ושם חברוין לפונים קריאס ארבע, האודום הגודל באנוקים הוא. He was the father of Achiman, Sheishai, Vitalmai, Arba, there were 4. He was Odom HaOdom Anokim, Ve'oretz Shokto Mimilchom. Okay. So, Yehoshua is asking, Kalev is asking Yehoshua, he told him we both went in Mala Achar Hashem, and since I was Oimed Ben Isoyen, and I wasn't included in Adas Meraglim, he says to him, listen, the Anokim, which were in Chevron, don't worry about it, my strength, Koichi B'moisnai, I still have my strength to go out to Milcham. Okay, so I would like to learn Ashtikal Sugye, which is very much negeya to us as to the relationship between aging during the time of the Torah and during Hayoim Hazeh. The Gemara in beginning of Perek Ben Soyer, Sanhedrin Daf Samachtes, says like this: Omar Rav Chizde, Omar Zeiri. הכל מועידים בבין 9 שנים ויום אחד שביעשוי ביה. כלפי all the chiyuv isurei bia, so somebody who's 9 years and 1 day old, his bia is considered a bia. Pachas mi ben shmoine she'ein bi'osei bia. If he's less than 8, he doesn't have a teres bia. L'gabe chiyuv ve'arayis. Lo yinechlechu elo beben shmeina. Question is from the age of 8 till the age of 9. The Beishamai Savre Gamrina Midoros Rishonim. Beishamai hold that he is a godel, because we learn shiur godless from Doros Rishonim. We'll soon see. Ubeisilel loy Gamrinen Midoros Rishonim. Beisilel hold you don't learn out the shiur godless Midoros Rishonim. Zog the Gemara Doros Rishonim Minol Le'Oilid. How do we know Doros Rishonim were Moilid L'Shmei? The Gemara goes through a whole Amud. I would just learn the relevant paragraph, what's negea to us. So the Gemara from Parshas Melechas HaMishkan. Melechas HaMishkan steht a pasuk uBetzalel ben Uri ben Chur lemate Yehuda. He says Chur was the son of Kalev, okay, and Ksiv Vatomas Azuvo. Azuva was the first wife of Kalev. Vayikach le Kalev es Ephras. He took Ephras. Vateled loy es Chur. So Chur is the son of Kalev and Ephras. And now let's make the cheshbon. V'chi'aved Betzalel Mishkan bekama ave. How old was Betzalel when he built the Mishkan? So the Gemara. Bat leisa. Diksiv ish mimalachtei. It says ish mimalachtei, and ish is ben Yud Gimel Shana. So Betzalel, when he built the Mishkan, was 13 years of age. Okay. V'tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Shana Rishon L'Yitzias Mitzrayim Oso Moshe Anshe HaMelocha Betzalel es uBeroisha Betzalel. He made the Mishkan with the Shana Rishona. Shana Shniya Heikim es HaMishkan. Okay. It says Vayi B'Shana Hashem B'Chodesh HaRishon Chodesh Nisan, second year of L'Tziosam Mitzrayim. Right. Ubeoisa Shana Sholach Meraglim. We know many times we held here the Sugya Sagmor in Tainis Daf Choftes that the Meraglim were sent in the second year in Choftes Sivan. It says Nisan Iyar Sivan, merely 3 months after Hakomas HaMishkan, they sent out the Meraglim. Okay. And Betzalel was at the time was 14 years old, apparently. He was at least 13 when he started building the Mishkan. It says it took him a year to build the Mishkan, so it was making the Mishkan the second year. So on Choftes Sivan, he was already 14 years of age. So the Gemara and the Ksiv, the Gemara brings the pasuk of our parak, what we're learning right now, that when Kalev is asking to be manchil chevron to him, ben aboim shoneh anoichi b'shloach Moshe Eved Hashem oisi mikodesh banel ragel soretz ve'ato hayoim ineh anoichi ben shmoinim v'chomesh v'shmoinim shon. So the Gemara ebazei kama havyalei, how old was Kalev ben Meraglim? Arboim, he was 40 years old. Shtei beferish. Dalar beiso da'ave Betzalel. Betzalel ben Uri ben Chur. Betzalel is a great grandson, Uri from Kalev. So take off the 14 years that Betzalel was 14 years of age, right? So Avele Esrim Vishis. There is 26, like 40 minus 14, the age is 26. And during those 26, Kalev had to give birth to Chur, and Chur had to give birth to Uri, and Uri has to give Moili the Betzalel. The 3 generations that have to be born. Chur, Uri, and Betzalel. Okay? So the Gemara, Dal Tarte de Tlose Ibure, Rashi, all the Rishonim learn, but there is a Rishonim, most latest were Leshiva Chodoshim, and a month is Afsaka between Ibur and Ibur. So if you take 3 pregnancies, each one 7 months, plus an extra month for the Afsaka, so the Gemara Avele Tarte Shoni, there's 2 years, 24 months. Okay, Ishtakach comes out, so if I take 40 minus 14, it's 26 minus 2 is 24. Ishtakach to kol chad v'chad betamnei oilid. Each and every one of them gave birth to 8 years old. So we have a raya Akoponim from the Psukim, the Gemara puts the puzzle together, in as much that Betzalel was 14 at the time of Akamas HaMishkan, and Kalev, his great-grandfather, was 40, behechrech, that they were 8 years of age, each one of those 3 generations, Kalev, ben Uri, ben Chur, ben Betzalel, ben Uri, ben Chur, ben Kalev, who gave birth to those generations. Okay, so Bishamar say, you learn out for Deir Rishonim. Therefore, a child who's 8 years of age, is called Roy Labiyah. It's called Roy Labiyah because B'Deir Rishonim we found out that there were Moilid B'Shmeina. So Be'echach is called Roy Labiyah. And L'gabakol Shiurei Biyah, the Gemara wants to learn out that there is a halacha that Ben Shmeina is considered a gold. That's the Shitas Beisham. I would like to know, B'Deir Rishonim that there were Moilid L'Shmeina. Okay, did they become Gedolim or not? Do they become legabekol mitzvahs amuras b'Torah? Do they become gdoilim since they yochel lehoilid, or no? Gdoilim, these halacha, a person has to be 13 years of age. Chuvas Arosh state it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. So gdoilim, they remained at 13. The fact that they gave birth prior to that, even though the din of a gadol, yet they were roi lehoilid. The Gemara comes there in the very same sugya beforehand in Daf Samaches. The Gemara says, Omar Rabbe, cotton eino moilid. Cotton is not right to be moilid. How do we know that? Because there's a parasha in the beginning of Sefer Bamidbar. Parasha is called Gezel Ager. It says, Isha kiyasu mikol chatas odom limol mal ba'ashem. Right? ואושמו הנפש ההוא ויסבדו את חטאוסם אשר עשו והישיב את השומר בראשו וחמישיסו יוסף עולו ונוסון לאשר עומל אושם לוי. Gemara says that this is the din of Osham Gzeilus. Okay? Keren v'chomesh ve'osham. V'im ein lo ish goyel, lo hoshiv es Osham eilo v'osham amushav l'Hashem l'koyel. If the person doesn't have any relative, he doesn't have a goyel, so he's supposed to give this money to the koyel. Do we find anybody in Klal Yisrael that do not have a relative? It's impossible. More says that it goes Nachlam and Mashmeshes ve'leches ad Ruvain ad Yaakov. Whatever the gear says, I'm not getting involved right now in this sugya. But it happened. You have to have a first cousin, second cousin, his fifth cousin, seventh cousin, and it goes from Shevet to Shevet. There's no person in Klal Yisrael that doesn't have a goyel. Elo behechrach begezel ager akosu bedaber, and the ger ein lo ish goyel. Somebody is goyzel from a ger, and he's nishba, and then the ger dies. If the ger is alive, you give it back to the ger, and there is no goyel to give the gzela because ger and this guy he doesn't have any relative. Even his own son is not related to him, so there is no goyel. So mimele, you're supposed to give this tashlumim to the kohen. This is ein lo ish goyel. So the Gemara Omar Achmone v'im ein lo ish goyel, only a ish which is 13 years old. Tzorich ato lachzer olav im yesh lo goyelim. The only one that you have to be mechazer to go and check to make your own drisha chipus michipus if there is a goyel is only a ish. Aval cotton, if it's a ger cotton, you have to find out if he has a yerush. So therefore, cotton is not moilid banim. The Gemara means to say, if the ger has children after he was megayer, so of course the kids are Yisrael, the misyachas to him. Talking about he doesn't have a goyel without having any children. The children that he's having after he's giving birth is Yisrael Gomor, and they're related to him l'chol dova ve'inyan. But it says ish, you're supposed to be mechapes. If the ger is a ish, you got to search. Maybe there is a residual, a son who is Yerush, the father, the Oviv HaGer. But cotton, if he's a cotton, you don't have to look. If a person is a geisel, a ger cotton, ger is 12 years old, you don't have to go ahead and search if he has any relative, because you know relative from before are not related to him. And children after the gerus, not the ger, because he's a cotton. The cotton ain't no moiled. This is the raya of Rabbi that cotton is ain't no moiled. Comes along right away, takes his stuff note and asks a kasha. He doesn't understand. Gemara comes along, he says, the cotton in the moilid. Vim toima, the mashma, the cotton be a duashein lo geil, mishim dein the moilid, v'chein ben amudo. So is toya say living dil biktanu poch ktanu bas lady, my kusher, or amrina lechamon b'shmaitzim, doira so rishoinim, hoyo moilidim b'ches shonim. What is cotton ein a moilid? The Gemara says that b'yomim rishonim, this man of the Torah, cotton is moilid b'ches shonim, more brings a raya from Betzal ben Nur ben Chub ben Kalev, that cotton was moilid l'shmein shonim. So what is cotton ein a moilid? So K'teises v'yeshloima, let me first read the words of Teises. The afal pi shebedoires o achroinim nosnu chachomim sima lavo asoyos iris lektane bas yud beis shana v'yoyim echod v'lekotten ben yud gimel shana v'yoyim echod bedoires o rishonim shoy b'marim lohovi seo ores oyos man gadlus mikoydem harbe. Teises says that since, I'm just explaining, since the physical maturity of them was beforehand, and they were meyer to bring Shtei Cyrus, even Begil Cheshonim, so Mimele, the Simonim of the Cyrus, their maturity process of Deiros Orishonim started at the age of 8. The Ebeser Darkoi, Kvar Hishi Shlonu, Rabbeinu Chaim Alevi, Reb Chaim's Bavusta Shtikol Torah, but be'emes, the whole Din Gadlus is totally only in Avos Beis Cyrus. The reason why you need Simonim and Shonim, somebody has Shtei Cyrus before age 13 is not considered, is because beforehand, it's not because you need Shonim for Gadlus, okay? The reason is because today, a person's maturity becoming a Gadol is only by Yud Gimel Shana. So if it is a person has Shtei Cyrus Migil Shtem V'Mailo, right? So Mimele, the Gemara says, Morinida says it's called Shuma B'Alma. It's just a Shuma. It's not really Simone Gadlus. So the reason why you need a person to be 13 years old in order to become a Gadol, even if he's Avos Simonim, is prior to that, and the Avos Simonim in itself is the Simon Gadlus, is only because prior to that, you say that he's the Simonim are not really Simonim. But, okay, if by Gezel Ager, the Gemara says, comes out that it's Choluk, Deiros Arishenim for Deiros Achrein. In Deiros Arishenim, the Din Gadlus was 8 years of age, so even if the Ger were to be only 8 years old, Tzorich Levar Achov, because he's Gadol and he's considered Gadol is Meilid. Deiros Achreinim that is not called till Yud Gimel Shana is not called a Gadol. So therefore, you don't have to be Mevara before the age of 13 because Kotne in a Meilid. Comes along, Teises, reflect Akashe. V'hod koma lekamon v'chiovid betzalel mishkan by Yud Gimel Shana have diksiv ish mimalachta. Taisa says l'chure that I'll bring a raya there is a rishonim, right? That it's considered. Taisa says that the Gemara says he had to be 13 years of age. How does the Gemara bring a raya from the fact that Betzalel was called an ish, that he was at the time of being a mishkan 13 years of age? The Rishonim was called the Ish Migil Shmeina Shanim Akaponim Loidis Mandom Elis Beishamai, because he was Moilid Lechesed. More brings a raya. He was Moilid Lechesed. That's no Machlekes B'Sham B'Silo. Question is Gamrina or Legamrina, but he was Moilid Lechesed. More brought a clear cut raya. So how does the Gemara Shpar Ois that the Betzalel was 13 years of age? Zoktei says the Be'emes. The Gemara says the Be'emes. The Eichacha of the Gemara that even if we were to say that Ish is only 13 years old, there you could bring a raya that they were moilid le. Teises afilu im noimar. That's what Teises says. Even if you're going to say that we're going to judge him according to today's parameters, so therefore you have a raya that the doilers that they were yoiled li shmeina. It's a bit. The Maharsha Muchitzach, he doesn't understand. He has two Mahalchim how to understand Pshat and Teisus. If he's 8 and he's Gadol, is Moilid, so could be Betzal, could be I have 4 generations and I have 40 years. And I have to take out 3 Burim, so I have 38 years of age. I have 12 and a half. I mean, it almost comes out to 13. Maharsha Muchitzach with Teisus. The Ran in Chidush Aran in Sanhedrin, Ding Zachantesis. And he says there is no fundamental difference in the maturity between Deiros HaRishonim and today. And he writes, I would like to read the Lashon Aran. Ela she'adayin kosher, still shver. לפי שהוכיחו בגמור שלפני שדיירוס הראשונים מועילים במלכי ואם כן איך נשמעתו כאן קטנים שאין צורך לחזור אחריהם, דאפשר דוילודו בין חסר בין טס. Right? Maybe they're מועיל לחסר טס. What do they say if a person, a ger, is under 13, you don't have to search for any goyalim. דאין לא ימר לאחר שניתנו תוירו, listen to this, יודו חולשו לאוילום מיד. Can't say that after Matan Torah there was Yorat Chul Shel Olam Shayel Kamon Lomdim Basheva Ve'al Korchin Yalfina Mehosam De Beitei Solido. This brings a raya. The Gemara has another raya from Basheva that she was Yoiled, and the Gemara has a whole second set of rayas from the time of Shlomo HaMelech from Achitophel. So he says, you see that B'Yeshleimar. The Maida Amina the Deiros HaRishonim Oilidu Mikame Gadlus Ainu Davka Be'oisim Shemurach Lonu Loi Makem Mikoyach HaPosuk Ava Ba'acherim Lo Yolidu Elo Bnei Yud Gimel Shona V'Yemecho V'im Yoilid HaKoten Al Tzad HaZorus Hu Miyad Godel Debonim Arem Kesimon Kedisa B'Yevomis. Right, it says like this: 99% of people don't give birth before the age of 30. But unlike Cyrus and Simonim, that if a cotton brings shtei Cyrus prior to the age of 13, you say Shuma Be'almo Bonim, Sugin Yevomis Daf Yud Beis says clearly and precisely, Hareim Kesimonim. There is no such a thing as a cotton. If he's Moilid, he becomes certainly a Godel. In Yoilid HaKoten Al Tzad HaZorus, there is 1% of children the age of 8 that are able, it's possible that it's Al Tzad HaZorus. It's very strange, it's awkward, it's not normal. Zogte, Zogderan. V'chein le'inya bias hakot nechlok b'sham b'sil, b'sham asav yalfim b'deiros harishonim, u'bias ben shmoyne ave bia l'chai v'sayisha, u'besil savar legamrinen, v'im hoyu hadoires b'zman hadoire kach, my time is shel lil memem. If the doires like that, Zogderan, why should you learn with them? Elavada yechidim hoyu be'oison hadoires, she'ero lehem kach, v'ein lil memem, shedina hatoiro einon elo al haroiv. ולפיכך אומרו בקוטן שאין צורך להחזיר אורך אחרוב אם יש לו גואלים שאין לא חוש לאויסה המיעוט ואף בישם המועדים בזה אלא לעיניה ביוסי ביר שנחלקו. The Ran comes along and says like this: the Torah is not given al derech hazorus. Torah is not given because it is an incident that happens once in 100 cases that cotton is moil. Therefore dine ha-Torah ein al haroiv. We have a ger, 8, 9 years old. We're not toilet. Maybe he has the zelbe zorus, the zelbe strange yecheles, like the story that happened by Betzalel ben Uri ben Chula Mati Yehuda. Not. And even by Shammai Amoide, that you don't have to be choshish lois amiyut, and therefore we're not choshish lois amiyut that he should be called chazer achov. Yes, akasha. According to Shammai, do we have to be chazer achov? You learn Deiros HaRishonim. Only the Gabe Biyose Bia Beishamai just say the Gabe to consider Biyose Bia in as much that we find a mute, even though it's a mute with Zorus, yet Beishamai say it's sufficient. I mean, you see, according to Beisil, also Ben Teisha Shonim. Apparently, the Maisebia, to be able to make a Maisebia, you could be a Kot, even Beisil made the Teisha Shonim. Beishamai says you mitzaref the fact that we find that Al Pi Derech Zorus, Deiros HaRishonim Lishmaine, to make up the halacha that is bi'osei bi'o legabe Yisrael. It comes out according to the Ran that the whole chiluk between Deiros HaRishonim and Deiros HaAchronim is in Deiros HaRishonim there was a miut she'einoi motzui that we yellow lishmayin. In Deiros HaAchronim we don't even find such Deiros, such episodes al derech hamiut hazorus. You know, very interesting. If you look in Sefer Bereshis, when Yankov gives the brachos to the children before his death, beginning Parshas Vayechi, so says Shimon v'Levi achim klei chomos mechoyroiseyem besoidom al tovei nafshi bekeholom al techad kvoidi. And I'd like to quote Rashi. Says Rashi like this: Shimon v'Levi achim be'itza achas al Shechem v'al Yosef. The story is side by Shechem and side by Yosef. Those two shvatim, those two brothers, went together. Sheneema v'yoyimru ish el ochiv v'ato l'chu v'nargei. Who is the ones who are giving the eitzah be'etzes Yosef l'chu v'nargei? V'yoyimru ish el ochiv. It says one to his brother. Im toimar Reuven and Yehuda are eloiskim barigosei. We find Reuven and Yehuda both had options and they were looking for ways to get Yosef out of the Einishmis. Itomar bnei ashfachos, if you're going to say the other children which were bnei ashfachos, ari lo hoisos sin oson shleimo, shenema v'u nares bnei bilo v'bnei zilpo. Yosef was in good terms with bnei ashfachos. So bnei zilpo and shifcha and bnei bilo and zilpo are not in this lechuven hargeu dikeitz. Okay, Issachar v'Zvulun, which were not bnei ashfachos, lo hoyu medabrim b'fnei achiyim agdolim mehem. They wouldn't talk in front of their elderly brothers. The brothers Shimon and Levi were older than Issachar and Zvulun. They wouldn't talk in front of them. Elo bal kochel zokt Rashi, Shimon v'Levi hem shekro'om achim. The Shimon v'Levi achim vayomu ishel ochiv. You were together there. Sai in Maaseh Shechem and Sai. Maaseh Shechem steht doch klar in Pesukim in the Torah. But in the Mechiras Yosef, l'chu v'nargeu, steht vayomru ish al ochiv, zogt Rashi be'echrech, this ish al ochiv, talking about Shimon and Levi. Besoido maltove nafshi, what is the clause? The Maaseh Zimri. Ksheniskaptzu shiftei shel Shimon lehovis hamidyonu l'fnei Moshe ve'omru loi, zu asura v'zu muteres. But the Maaseh in Shimon, okay, so they came to Moshe by Zimri ben Solu, who was Shlomiel ben Surishadai, who was the Nasi of Shevet Shimon. They came to Moshe, they asked him, Asuro muteros? Im toimar Asuro, if you're going to say that this Cosby Bas Tsur is Asuro, Bas Yisroi mi yiter. Who is the one who was matter you to marry Tzipora, who was Bas Yisroi? Ali Zocher Shmi Badover, Zokt Yankev, this Shimon and Levi, please don't damon my name, don't mention my name. Shenemar Zimri ben Solu Nasi Beis Avla Shimoini, V'leiksiv ben Yankev. It doesn't say ben Yankev, it says only Bnei La Shimoini, it stops there. Okay? Bikeholom Shiyakil Koyrach Shumishivta Shel Levi, again, this is now not Shimon but rather Levi. Al Kola Eido Al Moshe ve'alar ani sechet shmi imoem zokt Rashi sheneemar Koyrach ben Yitzor ben Kehos ben Levi, okay, ve'lo yinema ben Yankev. Doesn't say ben Yankev. So I'm asking these two achim, which were in cahoots together be'etza achas, Sai in Maaseh Shechem and Sai in Maaseh of Mechiras Yosef the Eitza Farbiga, I don't want to be mentioned and associated with them. So Shimon we find by the Maaseh of Zimri ben Solu, but the Midyonis stops by. Shimon is not miyachas to Yankev Avinu. Yankev is asking that whenever Koyrach makes trouble, who is an anical of Levi, I'm saying Koyrach ben Yitzor ben Kehos ben Levi, doesn't say ben Yankev. I don't want it. Aval b'divrei hayomim, Rashi continues. There is a pasuk in divrei hayomim shenisyachzu bnei Koyrach al haduchon. It says that we're standing on the duchon. Nema boy ben Koyrach ben Yitzor ben Kehos ben Levi ben Yisrael. It does mention ben Yisrael, what we're referring to. So he says, it says clearly that Yankev is giving the klola to Shimon and Levi because of Maaseh Dina b'Shechem and the Maaseh Mechiras Yosef. Comes on the Mizrachi and asks, why Klapi Shimon the klola was that he shouldn't be mentioned the name of Yankev even when he says the name Shimon Stam. Ali Zocher Shmi Shenemar Zimri ben Sod Nesib Lo Shimon V'Lo Koseh Bes Yankev. Yankev is totally deleted from Shimon. But by Levi, the only time that it's not Husker Shmoi is only by Machlekes and Koyrach. But in Yichuson Shabnei Koyrach Al Haduchon, it is Zok Frag the Mizrachi, he doesn't understand. You don't want to be Misiachas after, I don't want to be Misiachas after my sons, Shimon and Levi. Don't mention. Ki'ilu, it says that Klape Koyrach was a Machlekes, I don't want to be there, but Klape Duchon, maybe I will be there. What's the difference? It seems As if the Mizrahi Bamerks, the Oynish of Levi is milder than the Oynish of Shimon. Shimon is totally unrelated to Yankiv, and Levi, Akoponim Begabas, Aliyah Laduchan, is related to him. Okay. To make a long story short, we don't have too much time. Let's go to Parshas Vayishlach, the story of Shechem. It says, Vayikchu Shnei Bnei Yankev Shimon v'Levi Ish Charaboy. Okay. Rashi writes, what does it mean, Ish Charaboy? There's a Rashi in Nozir. It's not really Rashi. It's the Meforash in Nozir. It's called Rashi in Nozir. It's the Rivon. But Rashi in Nozir says, Ish mi ben yud gimel shona v'loy bepochus. Ish is only 13 years of age. V'loy bepochus. Shalei motzina b'kol ha'torah kula she'yikoru ish bepochus mi ben yud gimel. We never find somebody who's less than 13 years old who is called an Ish. Aval b'ben yud gimel, b'ben yud gimel, motzino. Shekora ish. Diksiv vayichu shnei bnei Yankev ish charboy Shimon v'Levi v'gmiri is some kind of a limud we know somewhere. The Shimon v'Levi be'oiso sho bnei yud gimel shona have. Shimon and Levi were 13 years of age. So Rashi says you don't find the ish less than 13. By 13 we find why, because by the Maisev Shechem and Dina vayichu Shimon v'Levi ish charboy, it's called the ish. They were 13. Rashi adds on 4 words which he doesn't mention. He is Rashi. It's not Rashi. In Ganshas. Somebody wants to figure out how we know that Shimon and Levi were 13 years at the age at the time of the Maaseh of Shechem ben Chamor is Yetzer v'Yachshav. Okay, so we made the cheshbon. And the Maaseh, it appears in Rabbeinu Bechaya. In the Brisa of Seder Olam, steht doch in Perek Beis, Klor, that all the Shvatim were born to Shiva. 7 years of Yankov was in Beis Lavan, he didn't get married. After 7 years, he marries Leah, and Leah has Reuven right away after 7 months, Shimon right afterwards, another 7 months, Levi, another 7 months. Now, 20 years Yankov was in Beis Lavan. After 20 years, he goes out to go to Eretz Yisrael. He stops in Sukkot, Kaitz, Chorev v'Kaitz, and he was there 18 months. Afterwards, the story of Shimon v'Levi happens thereafter. If I take the 7 years of Lavan after till he was married, and we take off the 14 months of Eroyan of Reuven and Shimon, comes out that when Yankov leaves the house of Lavan, Levi was 11 years and 3 months. And then if you add on the 18 months that he was Misakev in Sukkot, Shimon was 13 and 4 months, Levi was 12 and 9 months. Okay? If you want to take a look, I thought I made the Egen Cheshbon myself. I found the Mefurish Rabbeinu Bechaya. Rabbeinu Bechaya, Vayikhu, on this pasuk, Vayikhu, Shnei Bnei Yankev, Shimon v'Levi, Min HaKsuvim Yeshlonu Lilmud Kama Shonim Oyolohem, K'shechrivu Shechem. From the psukim we learn how old they were. ידוע כי ינקב רואה בבייס לובן 20 שנה, 14 בשני בנו 26 שנה בצוין, ואחר 7 שנים שעוד ברוך ורימו לובן ויחסל לסליה ויולדו לו ירובן בזין חדושים ואחרוב 12 שבעים חדושים, נמצא כשפירש ינקב מלוב לסף 20 שנה, או ישימן בן יוד בייס שנה, פוחס בייס חדושים. He was 11 months and 10 years old, 11 years and 10 months. He was 12 years, he calls it minus 2 months. ניסעקב יעקב בסוכת יוד חס חדושים בו לשכם. If you add on 11 years and 10 months plus the 18 months, Nimtzo Shimon ben Yud Gimel Shana v'Arba Chodoshim. Shimon was 13 plus 4 months, okay? And Levi, why? Because we have 2 months left in the 12th year, 12 months and 4 months. Together is the 18 months that he was in Sukkot. So Shimon is 13 and 4 months. And Levi was 7 months younger with him. Oyo ben 12 shana v'teisha chodoshim. V'kron hakosav ish tichsiv vayiku Shimon v'Levi ish charboy. Okay. So it comes out like this. In the Maaseh of Shechem, which is the trigger of Yankov not want to be associated with him, okay, Shimon was a gadol, with 13 and 4 months, and Levi was a cotton, who was missing a few months before his bar mitzvah. The Ramban says that what was the chet of Shimon and Levi? He says that he was makbid on them for two separate reasons. One, because they were maftiach to bnei Shechem that if you moilu v'yinu la'am echad, it says Vayoyim Yaakov el Shimon veLevi achartem oisel l'mishein bein ha'oretz shelo kimu avtochosom uboatu bediburim loshen Rambam. They didn't keep the promise. They made some kind of avtocho v'boatu lo kimu avtochosom. And the second tiny says the Rambam, you go milchama, and v'zeh shomer hakosav v'ne'esfu olei v'yikuni v'nishmadeti ani ubeisi. You caused a milchama. So causing a milchama is a reason why, the second reason why Yankov is angry. He's angry from Boatu bediburum v'le'omdu v'kimu avtochosom, and they were triggering to make a war, which is l'maiseh roidef. L'maiseh, you were roidef in causing a milchama. Who knows what the consequences of this war is going to be? Comes out like this. Shimon was a gadol at the time of the Oinshin. He gets a Oynish on two reasons. And also that he put his family into sakana. And therefore, the name of Shimon is never associated with Yankov, all in all. Levi was a cotton b'Yisasho. And the truth is, a cotton is labaroinshin, he shouldn't get any punishment. The only reason why he gets an Oynish is because he was cotton hasumufla hasamach leish. The halacha is that cotton who is mufla hasamach leish, the halacha is that the Ksugis Agmoi Nide, Ram Milchas Nedorim, Nedorov Nivdokim, in Yodel Shemi Nodar, if he knows who he made the neder for, then there's a din of a neder. So it comes out that Klape de Haftocho, the Loi Omdu Baftochosom, Veboatu Bediburom, he has to get an Oynish. But Klape, there is Goyim, that Anshe Shchem will come to Mulchama, since there's a din of a cotton, is not Bar Einshin. Therefore, he only gets a half a klolo that biyachas to koirach is not mentioned. Biyachas al aduchon is mentioned. And in other places, it's a whole shiur b'fnei atzmai. We say, why is the story of koirach? Because the whole machlekas of koirach was the pcheiros, and the shaila the cotton could work in bama, it cannot work in bama. That's the mida keneged mida, and the klape koyen avodah is only begodel. Therefore, it splits between this klolo and that klolo by duchon. He is getting a bracha because he was a cotton in relation to it. He doesn't get an einish, but klape koirach, he does get an einish. Okay. Al Kaponim, just to wrap it up, it comes out that even in Deiros Horishonim, the shiur godless was Yud Gimel Shon. And Fakert, not only that, the entire source of the shiur godless ben Arboim Shon ben Yud Gimel Shono is considered is from the Maise of Shimon and Levi that were in Deiros Horishonim. So the teretz is Bal Kochoch that he had to be Ben Yud Gimel Shono. Same thing, he has to bring Yud Beis Cyrus, and before it's called Shuma Be'alma. So too they had to be Ben Yud Gimel. That's the source of Ben Yud Gimel Shono. Is the halacha becomes a gadol. As I said, the Rosh in Chuvas HaRosh says that the din is the halacha l'meish mitzvah. I just like to say, I always ask people that come to me, one of the riddles, where do we find? And I'm going to tell you one, and the other one I'll let you maybe figure out yourself. Where do we find a man that married a woman who is nearly 50 years older than him in the Torah? And the answer is, what we saw over here, Kalev ben Yefune. Who does Kalev marry? He marries Azuva. After his wife Azuva, he marries Ephras. Who is Ephras? Stating more. More says in Saita, she is Miriam. So Kalev ben Yefune marries Miriam, and from that they have Hur is born to Kalev and Miriam. Now, how old is Miriam? Miriam was 6.5. Machlekes two midrashim, Pikad Rab Lazar and Pikad Rab Lazar and Bryce the Seder. She was between the 6 and 7 years old when Moshe Rabbeinu is born. So it comes out that if Moshe Rabbeinu was 80 years old in the B'shas Yetzias Mitzrayim, B'shas the Shnas Shiluach Meragli, Moshe was 81. So at that time, his sister was approximately 88. And Kalev Shteido in Pasuk, Ba'unz in the Perek, like Kalev is Ben Arbaim Shana. So it comes out a man of 40 is marrying a woman of 88. And that is the gap in the age. I will ask you a question. Where is the second zivug that there is a similar age gap?